one. That's what it says on the screen. It's AfroEconomics Live, everybody. Do you know what day it is? March 23rd, 2022. Up, up, up. Yes. I love our time together. Yes, I do. This is our time. Weeda, Star, thank you for being in. Aw, good evening right back at you. Please don't hesitate to make a chat. I'm going to try to make sure I acknowledge the question, your any inquiry that you have. Thank you. I am like excited about tonight's discussion. I hope that you will turn it into a discussion so that I won't have to talk the whole time. I love to do, well, I guess I will have to talk the whole time. But I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you feel about the economy. I want to know what your thoughts are. Do you have any hesitations? Do you have any things that you want to see happen? Do you understand what's going on? I really wonder, like, because I thought it was interesting today, like watching some of the interview of the Supreme Court nominee, I guess it is, that she's going to be on the Supreme Court, and I said, wow, this is interesting, the questions and her powerful responses, and the questions, like, they must have spent a lot of time on their questions. One guy had like a poster, Ms. Neville, like, that he made for, talking to her about his question and stuff. And I was like, this is interesting because I don't really, well, I guess since Clarence Thomas, I don't really remember, being so interested, in the process. And I read a research study today, and the study was talking about hope. And they did indeed, yes indeed, and it was talking about hope and how to have hope and how to and they used the study was about, and this was done back in the day when they could do studies on animals. So there were these they did the study using rats. How you doing, Mr. Jenkins? And there were some wild rats and there were domesticated rats. So they would put the rats in the water, and the domesticated rats would like just pedal and survive for like 40, 60 hours. But the wild rats would only last like 40 or 60 minutes, the domesticated, like until they give up. But the wild rats would, which I thought for sure the wild rats will like last longer, right? The wild rats will like get in the water, and because they're wild rats and not domesticated, I assume that they will really go for it. But in the study, the wild rats actually gave up first. Like the wild rats gave up at like 10 minutes and 20 minutes. They gave out pedaling. And Miss Pritchett, the wild rats like just died in the water. So then they did another part of the study, and the Star, I want to make sure that you and Ms. Davis can, Star, you hear me talking about this study about the rats, like the rats you're talking about, like hope, because the our Supreme Court nominee, she was referring to that letters that she's been receiving, and that people were saying how motivating it was to see her. And then when I heard this study about these rats, so this is part two. So what they did was they did the rats, they put the wild rats back in, they did the domestic rats back in the water, and right before the wild rats would give up and pass out, they decided they would save the wild rats. So they pulled the wild rats out and they rubbed on them, and they rubbed on them, they made the rats feel like, loved, and they put the rats back in the water. And guess what? The wild rats then began to pedal and want to survive as long as the domesticated rats were doing. So, the researchers discovered hope, that when a person has hope, when a person says, wow, she makes me feel like there is a chance, like she was caressing them, basically. Her existence, her intelligence, her commitment, her drive, her tenacity is giving someone else hope. That's what you do, Star. That's what you do, Weta. That's what you do, Mike. How you doing, Michael Robinson? I love you. And how you doing, Mr. Jones? That's what you do. You give me hope. You're acknowledging, you know what I'm saying? So when we don't realize how important we are to someone, but that I hope that study, like, someone that's listening know that it is important for us. That we think that, we just, just because, they're your kids or your family or whatever are in a certain set, that of course they know that they're cared for, that they know that you want them to be successful, that you know that you support them. No, sometimes you got to actually pick them up, touch them, and let them know that their success is important. Because when they know that there's hope, when they know that there's someone there to save me, according to that research study, if it parallels with us, then we're going to try even harder because we know it's helping someone. And a lot of times we need to really know that what we're doing, is helping someone. You need somebody to, you need somebody to pick up and say, oh, okay, this is making a difference. This is making a difference. And as that goes into this Fed decision, I just feel that the Federal Reserve is not doing a good job of letting a lot of society know that there's hope. Because the move that they've made to increase interest rates is not benefiting the people who actually need to have hope. They decided that I'm going to increase interest rates. We need to slow down the economy, but slow it down for who? So slow it down. The Federal Reserve, in Chairman Powell's presentation, he said that the labor market is strong, consumer demand is strong, so we're in a position to just pump the brakes on the United States economy, slow this sucker down, let's increase these interest rates, and things will be better. When in reality, black workers have not gotten back, nor are they where they need to be. Oh, thank you. It might be coming out of here. Let's see. Is that better, y'all? I don't know. Could you hear me good already, y'all?
Yeah, I can hear you.
You could hear me fine before?
Mhm. Yes.
My executive producer said he thought I was coming out of there, but I wasn't. I really wasn't. No, baby, it's not. Let me. So I feel that. Thank you. I got to do a mic check on you too, right? So the the Federal Reserve says, oh, everything is just great because by the end of last year, the gross domestic product, meaning that is used to show how well the economy is doing, was almost at 7%. 6.9%. That was huge increase from the year before. Huge increase from 2020. So definitely, the Federal Reserve can say that. But the black unemployment is at 6.6%. That's still double the white workers' unemployment. And it's been that way since the 1970s. So when the Federal Reserve continues to decide that it's going to make decisions based on everybody except for, the community that needs it the most. That is, I mean, these are its numbers. It knows black unemployment is still double. It knows that the black community is struggling to recover from this pandemic. No, they know these numbers, but they still are deciding to make this decision. And in reality, which is one of my points I want to make sure that I make tonight, that we need to talk to our local politicians about this, because there's more compassion that's being done for Ukraine and Russia than is being done on the black community not having the opportunity to recover from the pandemic. So we definitely, need to make sure that we do what we can to pull forward that, hey, things are, what I mean, things, our politicians, whoever our representatives are, that it needs to be, brought up. Let's send an email or something, that this, that we need to really pay attention to. You're going to slow down the economy, and it's going to have huge repercussions to a people that are just getting back on their feet, or haven't even had a chance to get back on their feet. And it's one hit after the other. So, definitely, I'm sorry. I'm gonna look at some of yours. I'm gonna move the logo down so I can see. Michael said it best. All I want to say is that they don't really care about us. I know, Miss Bolden, that hurts. But the truth of the matter is that there are so many, not black people, not just us, who are acknowledging this. There's extensive research on the Federal Reserve makes moves continuously. There were, like just people lined up in 2015 out front of the Federal Reserve, like, protesting that you're making these moves without recognizing what you're doing. When you say slow down the economy, because people are making too much money, you're talking to people that are making money. You can't be talking to people who don't have a job. You can't be talking to the community that is making less money than they were making 10 years ago. No, so I want us to realize that we have a responsibility to really look at your financial position. I think that more than ever, it is important for us to make sure that we have emergency funding for yourself and your family. As we get into, how are you doing, Joshua, coming in from Las Vegas? Good to see you. Mr. Johnson in Florida, indeed, good to see you. Our politicians are aware of this, and they have betrayed the black community intentionally. That is so sad. That is so sad. But there's no other, that is the answer. Because it's obvious this has been happening. The unemployment for the black community has been double that of the white community since the 1970s. So this is real. There were times where we weren't, a lot of the working black community, because they were domestic workers, were not even acknowledged by Social Security. So they couldn't get Social Security for domestic workers. So you still have families that are impacted by those rules that hit us more than any other community. Yes, indeed. So let's go on. I want to point out that the Federal Reserve really does not have the right to just say, well, I can't really make special situations for the black community, when you're sitting there talking about the same Federal Reserve is talking about what they need to do in order to help Ukrainians. So you still have this, your own, our economy that we support, that we pay taxes to. This is our world. You still have systemic discrimination in our own economic policy. in our own labor market. So we realize this in the numbers, in what is happening, and its impact on our community. So the Federal Reserve has a responsibility for maximizing employment for all opportunities, as well as it has the responsibility to control inflation. But it has decided that it's going to focus on controlling inflation and ignore its responsibility to maximize employment opportunities. Because with the interest rates going up, employers are not going to be able to finance the growth, and the growth is what creates the jobs. So it needs to be articulated, or we need to understand that the Federal Reserve is not just about controlling an inflation that has been created by greed and to a very high degree, along with the supply chain challenge, but to hurt everyone who's looking for employment opportunities in your response to things that are outside of our control is sad. Mm. My third point is that we really were headed towards an opportunity for our community and for the entire country to be in a better situation and to recover from the pandemic. But when they're slowing down the economy like this by increasing the interest rates, it is going to slow down it's going to increase the unemployment rate. And who is it going to increase the unemployment rate the most, because ours is already double, is our community. And this is intentional. It's not by accident. I mean, like, I'm not, and I'm not like, this is not like something like, woo, and we tell them and they don't know about it. This is an intentional step to increase the interest rates so that the economy will slow down, so that companies cannot hire as many people. They know this. They taught me. This is their way. So we have to realize that we're going to have to look at every opportunity that you can to create your own business. I think this is an example of how we have to move more towards, as a community, as an entrepreneurial mindset. It has to be grabbed. I met the president of an Asian entrepreneurs group, like Asian Business League. And I said, why do you have so many entrepreneurs in your community? And he said, because that's what we do. That's what we've always been. He said, in our country, the government doesn't hire everybody. Here, everybody works for the government, or some government, federal government, or local government, or some, and then for our community, it is so true. But it's not working. They're not hiring as many people anymore. So we have to figure out how we're going to create opportunities. We got all these kids going to college, getting all these school loans, and where are they going to go to work? Because the Federal Reserve has decided that they don't need to hire any more people, so we're not going to help people build their businesses. So what we're going to have to do is build businesses just like I did and still doing, from our own sweat, our own tears, our own work. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it. Like Westy said, self-work. We're going to have to create opportunities for ourselves, because the unemployment is going to run out. They're not going to extend it. They did this. They closed you into a corner. Anybody that was out there on unemployment and actually thought that it was really going to be covered in the job that you had doesn't even exist anymore. And we got a government that's not training people for other opportunities. Instead, we're compensating businesses for sending the jobs overseas. Come on. Well, we could be training. So slowing down the community right now, the Fed is ignoring that it has a responsibility to create maximum employment. And that maximum employment should include all workers. Only see they get away with it because the majority community has very small unemployment. So, but that's not the case for other communities and our community. It's not the case. But yet, this is the same Federal Reserve that says we have to be very careful and nimble, and you know what they say? We need to be nimble as we face economic uncertainty in relation to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Very sympathetic, and I appreciate that. But we have a crisis here as well. We have a crisis here. So a seventh point is the timing of the decision to raise these interest rates and to commit to raising them, consistently. So that says to, business owners, if you are thinking about expanding, you might want to reconsider that. Housing has slowed down, so construction jobs are going to be cut. They're not going to need to build as many because interest rates are higher. So people aren't being able, a lot of people that could afford, mortgage applications are down dramatically for home purchases. So home building will be down, and it's going to be down. And who works on the home building? Who works in construction? So the timing is just bad. It would be great that if we could get to the point, and we're there pre-COVID, of what would be considered full employment for everyone. That'd have been the first time in like decades. Wow. So they, that the amazing part is that they had options on how could do this. No. So they're really using the wrong tool to stop the inflation, because what's going on with inflation is really not created by wages. Like we're not making any more money. The inflation basically has been created by the companies not being able to get the materials that they need. So that's called supply chain problems, disruptions, and corporate greed. Companies just looking at this as an opportunity to make more money. Have you all realized, have you seen how many, just extra fees there are on stuff? Like, extra costs. Like, last year this time, when they would do a delivery for me, for Amazon, as a member, if I were getting something from them, it was zero. No cost for the delivery. You're a member, the delivery is free between this time and this time. Now, if you want it quick, it's $15 for the delivery, plus you're paying for being a member. And then you're also, if you want it whenever they want to bring it to you, it's $10, $9.95 for the delivery. Not for those products, but I'm talking about for the daily groceries. For groceries that they were delivering. But during COVID and pre-COVID, it was free. Well, still is during COVID, but it was amazing to me that their earnings were slightly off, and immediately after that, my bill changed. They said, no, that'll be the last year. Corporate greed. Corporate greed. It's not that they lost money. It's just that what was anticipated, they didn't quite get there. Well, they went too high. How about that? How about your projection was off? But no, they said, no, we're going to come and get it. So people's bills are about, up at least let's say 2%. A 2% increase of everybody's bill for nothing that involves your food. And your food is up. So you're making more money for your food. The packaging of the food, you're getting less for everything that you buy, because you see how they repackage stuff. So instead of bringing down the price, they said, well, we'll save by making all the packages smaller. So you're saying $5 gets you less bread, less, less, just less. It's just so. That's what caused inflation. But the people are not like. I mean, there's some people that are making more money, but overall, people got raises. Even the people who are getting raises that are at the same job. Now, some people switched their job and they got a dramatic raise, but I'm sure they've had to pay for the consequences of that. They have to start all over, everything. Hey, you switch. Everybody switch, but everybody can't switch. So basically, the people who kept their job, who were there for the company, they're making so much money off you because they didn't give you the raise that they gave the people that came in after you. You feel that? Again, that's inflation. It goes on to the customer so that they want to pay the new job recipient. So that's a fraction of their payroll went up. But the expenses for everybody went up, and the loyal employee got a small raise, if anything. Adjusted for inflation, they didn't make a raise at all. The cost of stuff went up more than the raise that you received. Come on. So the Fed is using the wrong tool. I just gotta say that. The I want to point out that Seth Hunter is the director of a black-led organization called Community Change, and William E. Spriggs, a chief economist of the African Federation of Labor, Congress, and Industrial Organizations, professor at Howard University, they pointed out that domestic automakers, cut their production by 40% due to COVID. Climate change, they said, has harmed wheat production, triggering a pasta shortage, and U.S. meatpacking industry is monopolized, and it can and artificially inflating prices as they please. So that's why you're paying more for meat. That's what they're saying. And any excess demand. Now, this is according to Dr. Spriggs and Mr. Hunter. Any excess demand that has outsized effects on prices would have come from those in the top 10%. So they're saying this big demand that they're saying that is causing all of this inflation, and that's why they have to increase interest rates and slow down the economy and slow down job growth, is because they're arguing that it's just the top 10%, the people with all the money. Because the top 10% of our economy, of this American way, they consume, they buy as much as the bottom 40%. So they're buying so much, like they said, like luxury cars, like were just bought so much last year. So it makes it appear like everybody's doing well, everything is doing great. When really, the majority of people are kind of treading water. Right? So they're saying that rising interest rates fixes none of this problem. See, look, this is what Dr. Spriggs and Mr. Hunter said. They said that increasing the interest rates is like using a hammer to open a wine bottle. And then when you get the bottle open, you know what I mean? You don't have anything left to drink.
That's
And
right.
that's what's happening. Exactly. Like, it's just horrible. At the expense. Like, so I'm just saying that it's not just me, you know what I mean, that's recognizing this, that this is a real challenge. And I think that our super solution is to be mindful of our spending, to be
Yeah.
mindful of your financial decisions, to be
Hmm.
mindful of your investments, and make sure that we have what's long term invested long term, like we always do. That's why it's important, because literally in Afroeconomics, we have been preparing for things like this throughout. Like this isn't like the first, like, the time you hear me say you need to make sure you have your savings up. You need to be saving as much as possible. You need to try to reduce your expenses as much as possible. Mm. Star, the savings interest rate should be up. They should, they should go up, but it's going to be a lot slower, exactly, than your credit card rate. Credit card,
In
your
what
credit,
in what world?
right?
When are they
Credit,
gonna raise it?
credit
In
card
what
rate,
world?
and the problem is, as I was saying, that if a person like runs in, to their bank and locks into an interest rate now because they run it as an ad, they need to realize that this interest rate increase is just the first of many to come. So you need to get with your trusted financial advisor about your financial decisions now more than ever. Exactly. That's gonna be tough. And I know. Start saying about being locked out of your bank account. The I see you, Miss Davis, talking about the volatility of the market. It certainly is, and we're going to continue to have that over the short term. And I anticipate, of course, through the rest of this year, for it to be a challenging year for stock investments. And we can see it as a continuous buying opportunity. But someone who is retiring this year, you need to call me. We should have been working on this. You know, the this this is when you put in the work. You're gonna be retiring next year. You know, because we're saying like, this is for the long term. But then you have, say, your work retirement plan, and then I look at it, and you got a risk score of 95, and then on the investments, but your analysis says that you are 34, and I see that too often. So you're saying you don't want to be risky, but whatever you did at work, I don't know where you came up with that. It's just, what are your coworkers, right? What are your coworkers like? Yeah, do this what I'm doing. And then when you tell them like, man, mine is whatever, and then all the time, every time people tell me, well, my coworker said they've been out of that, or they did something else, or I was just telling you about that. I didn't really do it. I think it's so funny. I think it's so funny. I'm like, that's what, you know what I'm saying? They're not a financial advisor. They do not have a responsibility to monitor nor follow up with any changes in your financial goals. But I hope, Star, that they don't lock us out of our bank accounts. But I think that's more of an argument that we definitely need to have some cash at home. How much of cash you need to have? Like, I don't, I don't know. But because I can't really say that you should have your whole 3 months of emergency fund. You know what I mean, in the house. Like, but think about the people in Russia. Like, they can't get to their money now.
That's why I asked that question. Normally what happens overseas follows suit here in the U.S.
But the one good thing is, if that happens, you're not alone. I mean, so if you can't pay your bills, a whole bunch of people can't pay either. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't gotta worry about that. They got to be like, they can't put everybody out. They were like, look, we can't pay our bills because all the money is on hold. So, from that perspective, they'll have to release it. The only important thing is to just make sure you have it. If that, like, with this, I know this sounds crazy, but if that actually happened and that's the only problem, you doing okay. And I mean, you have the money, but you just can't get to it. That ain't a bad problem. The problem is when you don't have the money. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have the money, but you can get to it, you can't get to it, but they gotta open it up. They got it at some point. Like, I remember after 9/11, if I remember correctly, they closed down the stock market for a whole week. A whole week. I know it was some days. It seemed like forever to me. But they closed it down. You think we're in a capitalist economy, you might as well forget it. We are not. This government controls this thing. When they want the economy to do well, they let it. When they don't want it to do well, it doesn't. I don't know. And people go, capitalism. I go, no, this is like governmentism. I don't know. Like, they run things. It's amazing. We see it. If the Fed says tomorrow, we are not going to raise interest rates again for the rest of this year, we're not going to raise them indefinitely. See how that market takes off. It doesn't matter to them because they don't need all their money right now. And they know that kind of control that they have. So, what Warren Buffett said, like the basically the patient make money off the impatient. The impatient person always gonna be broke. If they gotta have it all the time, they gotta have it right now. You know what I mean? They'll never win. So we just have, we have to get that kind of strength, though. We have to get that kind of strength and realize, like, this is how it works. And we're here, we have to learn how to maximize the system. There's like such a push of people trying to figure out, like, people go, well, the banks might hold on to my money, so I'm going to take all my money and send it over to some other form of currency. So, you trust that more than that. You trust some Dropbox, you trust more than the one where you could at least walk up in there and smack somebody. We are sending money in hundreds of thousands of millions out of our community off to stuff that you don't even know where their corporate office is. They just sending money away. Do you trust that more than your own local bank? Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. You worried about the bank, just go in there and sit all day. Just go in there and sit all day. Just park out in their parking lot all day and see all them people coming in there putting that money in that bank. Then go and check how much money your money is insured for. Then check with your brokerage account with me on how many billions your brokerage account is insured for. And then explain to me why you would send it off somewhere else that has absolutely no security investor protection, no FDIC insurance, none. But you're stressed out about the bank. We gotta stop. Generally, most people that are broke, they broke because of their own. You know what I'm saying? What the Bible said, a fool and his money shall soon part. That's just foolish. So Ms. Bolden said the top 10% may need to go through some type of metamorphosis to ever change. And more importantly, we have to go through a metamorphosis to change. I want to make sure that I check myself. I want to make sure that given the same situation, that I wouldn't do the same thing. Because it hurts me when I see us be greedy to one another. When I see us rob one another. We in the same boat. But when we do bad for one another, one person said to me, I was saying about what they were doing was wrong with one of those PPP loans, and I said, I don't think you should do that. And they said, that's what they do. I said, that particular line doesn't work with me. I just don't understand who they are and why you feel like you should do what they do, even though you know that they wrong. Come on. Yeah, temporary insanity. But temporary insanity is coming into a generational curse. That's the sad part. When I think about it, I was thinking about over the weekend when during slavery, they used to take slaves and intoxicate them and give them drugs all weekend. Just get them drunk when they would want to take a break. And then when the holidays would come, they would get the slaves drunk, intoxicated, give them drugs. This is truth. How many people in our community right now do that? With their hard-earned money. And then go to work and get mad at their boss for an opportunity and then do a horrible job and block an opportunity for somebody else. Yeah, Mr. Jenkins, sounds like now. So I don't even worry about like what anybody else does, right? So I go, what do I have to do? What do I have to do, Chris? What do I have to do? Because I have so much to do. And imagine, everybody that needs to be around me, like when you're trying to do something, how powerful your team has to be. We have to be powerful for each other. Yes. It's like we have to be on point for one another. We gotta, we have to focus on those who are trying hard to do better. You know what I'm saying? And eliminate those who are half-stepping. Like, because we put too much effort into half-stepping, we award and reward half-stepping. We help half-stepping. We just, and we put all our time in it, and you see somebody else over there struggling, trying so hard. Like the analogy I was talking about with the rat, but it, the rat that's trying hard, how about pick that one up and rub it and help that one? Because you're giving something hope. But instead, we're like the frogs. There's an experiment with frogs, and the frogs were in the pot. And the frogs were like hopping and trying to get out the pot. And then soon the frogs just sat down. And they kept heating the pot slowly. And the frogs got all comfortable and they said, oh, this water feels good. It feels so good. And then the next thing, the frogs were cooked and they were dead. Because they got stuck in the comfort. They got stuck in the comfort. Or are you like the fish? The fish that was in the water tub, and the fish saw the food down at the end, and then they put this glass between the fish and the food, so the fish kept hitting his head and growing back and hitting his head, and then they took the glass out, and guess what the fish did? Guess what the fish did? It starved. It starved because it got tired of trying. It said, I'm not going down there no more. I hit my head. Who's the only one that makes it? We have to teach our children that they might not be able to just get a job. So we're going to have to get them to take their talents, get their skills right, give them some hope. And we got to make sure that they realize that you'll never hit your head too much. Because one of those times, that glass is going to be lifted up, but you got to stay hungry. You're not going to sit there and just let yourself starve, are you? You got to stay hungry. We got to go get it. Because you see, like, this economic system has been like this forever. When they set up policy, they're not thinking about what's best for you. When they set up policy, we are, in their case, a minority interest. And what happens to us is like collateral damage. Just, I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. Maybe they'll get on Medicaid or something. You know, it's not obviously a concern. So we have to go down there and get the food on our own. But I think that we first have to stop just, being drunk with the stimulus check and the PPP and the easy stuff and get involved in the blood, sweat, and tears that are required to build something. Build something. Like, you know what I mean? You can't. You might not be able to get a job, but nobody can stop you from building a business. Nobody can stop you but you. We can do this. So, what is going to be next? If they continue to increase the interest rates, the unemployment for our community is going to continue to move higher. There are not going to be job opportunities. If you like to work places, then you need to consider revamping your skills. See what's needed out there. Get your IT skills up. You know what I mean? There's going to be a need for workers, but you got to make sure that you're trained in what is needed. The things like, I was looking the other day, I think I was talking to Mr. Jones, and I was like, Uber is considered a technology stock. He's like, oh my God, why would we consider that a technology stock? And I'm like, because it's just an app. So they need more technology people than they need drivers, probably. Because they're technology. They're looking at the next thing. They probably got Uber, what we know about the drivers, but they probably do financial stuff. It seems like everybody is a financial institution now. Have you noticed that? Like, everybody's doing financial stuff. Everything can be financed. There was you don't have to even buy anything. I was buying like some $40 sneakers the other day. And they were like, would you like to break it into payments? $40? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to break it down. So by the time the person buys the $40 sneakers, they're probably going to pay $80 for it. And then they'll get you to go. So you go, well, dang, if I only got to pay $10 today, I'll get 2 pounds. That's how it works. Everything is financial service. Everything is transactional. We have to get with that. We have to look at, what's making these things work. What is making things tick? What is next? What is next? Stock prices move higher based on earnings potential.
JB,
Yes.
when you said that to me, I'm thinking Uber would be a transportation
Exactly.
company. Yeah.
Exactly. If they not transporting, not, well, they are. They are. But their drivers are. But those drivers are not their employees. You see what I'm saying? These are their drivers. So they are, that 1099 person is a transportation company. But Uber, they're the software. That's right. That's right. Yep. Exactly. Financial services and life coaches, I know. But the products, like the financial service products, because they can be so technology based, they make so much money if you get away from talking to people. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to do this. They don't want to serve people like I do. So I know I'm not going to have to worry about going out of business because nobody wants to talk to anybody. Everybody want to be an app. So as long as I take care of myself, I will be okay. But you know what I mean? They're doing everything they can to avoid having to have a person help somebody. They all know, Some of them don't even have 800 numbers that you can call. So that's where that guy with the Robin Hood situation, he killed himself because they didn't have a toll-free number for him to call at night. So he thought he had lost a lot of money and he killed himself. And he had actually made a little money. But the technology hadn't, his losses and gains hadn't come together on something to happen, and it's just so sad. But nobody, we have to be careful with that technology, and you're doing these big transactions. You gotta know what you're doing. It's a trip, isn't it? Even when you're on your computer, like nobody wants to talk to you. So just just continue to think about the future and how you want your future to be. And if I can help you, and just know every Friday we do. Oh, look at Miss Potts down there. Oh, Reverend Brown, I didn't even know y'all were down there. I'm sorry. Should have said you should have said something. I thought about you today, Miss Potts, another entrepreneur. Reverend Brown, an entrepreneur. Look at all y'all entrepreneurs. Kenneth Jones, Michael Robinson. Yes, indeed. And that, but the that this is a time like those Fridays. I think could be powerful, and people know that Afroeconomics has a free membership, and the free membership level will allow you for 30 days to participate in our business network meetings. So I call it no excuses because we have no excuse. No excuse. Get involved. Get the help. Think about it. I mean, believe in your dream. Keep hope alive. Like, just believe in it. And just realize that interest rate increases are coming. Interest rate increases means what? The economy is going to slow down. This is not by mistake. The Federal Reserve has said, I want to slow down the economy, which means I want to make it harder for businesses to grow, which means the businesses will not hire new people. Which means if you are seeking a job, it's going to get harder and harder. Which means if interest rates are going up and you're thinking about buying a house, you might want to talk to me about making sure that's the most cost effective thing for you to do right now. How you're going to make it happen. So we have a lot to talk about, right? We have a lot to talk about. Our Black Wealth matters. Facts, Mr. Johnson. Facts. What happened with Mr. Johnson, right? Ever since he moved to Florida, he only stays on the water. He won't get into the studio. What's going on? The good life.
Mr. Johnson moved?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh damn.
Yeah. Now you got to go to Florida.
I didn't. I hesitated. I procrastinated on taking his course. That's why I'm
Well,
upset with myself.
it's not too late. Come on down.
That's
Come
right.
on down like
That's
I said.
right.
Look, Reverend Brown is down there. I'm going. Michael's coming. We're gonna be down there in May, so we could have. Miss Hawkins says she's coming to see me in May. We need to plan something. Yo, Mr. Johnson. He said, yo. Indeed. Star, you need to plan for going to Florida in May. We should have a meeting. You coming, Miss Potts? We do a meeting in Florida. You coming?
I gotta see. I might be popping popcorn in May.
I know that's right. You might have to come and pop it in Florida. She has a popcorn. They have a popcorn company. That's good. Isn't that good? We need that. That's what we need. Some popcorn in our life. How you doing, Mr. Barden? Yes. Joe, how you doing? Good to see you. That's so good. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. It's all good. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful week. Any questions for me before y'all go? Any questions?
I got one.
All right, I'm listening.
In relation to the interest rates, how does the inflation relate to that?
Oh, their argument is that if we stop people from buying things, if we stop demand, then the supply pressure won't be as much. When demand is up and the supply is down, the prices go up. So they're trying to decrease the demand. You know what I mean? And because we can't control supply because of this, change not can't get to enough supplies to make things. So this is just a direct way, really, of just slowing down our ability to purchase things. Good question. Like, what does one thing have to do with the other, right? But it definitely has a lot to do with it. Yeah. So and it's their only way. That's what they do because that's one thing that they can control. So they use that to control everything. But they also have a task. They have a task to control inflation, but they also have the responsibility to make sure that unemployment stays down. So my argument around, along with the brothers that wrote that article, is that, what about that? What about how devastating this interest rate increase is going to be on unemployment for the black community, which is consistently double, and still is double that of the white community. So there's some work to, for us to do, because it is what it is. They said they're going to do this. So, and I just say that now it's time for you to just develop a strategy. Okay,
Yeah.
it may be harder to get hired. So what can I do? Where can I create? Is it, can I do a business? What are my options? And for those people that are working, be very conscious of, it might be time to switch jobs. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know whose mic that is, but it might be time to switch jobs, because
Mm.
people that switch jobs are getting the biggest raises. They're not having to work. I mean, they're making 20, 30,000 more. You staying at the same job, you're only getting a 5% increase, if that. So if you really want to get that step up, and this is statistically shown that if you want to get the step up, that's funny. It was like, I don't know who is it, but if you want to get a dramatic step up and maximize your income potential, you have to be open to switching jobs. Well, we can continue. I'm just a call away. We can continue to talk about that. But thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great
Okay.
questions. Thank you. I'll have a great night.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank
All
Great
right
you.
now.
information,
Take care.
JB.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Thank you.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Jim. Oh, good night now. Thank you. Y'all so positive. Take care. Bye. Hmm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, Queen Howard. Good to see you. Good night, Deborah. Good night, Mr. Johnson. Have to reinvent yourself in this economy.